Awesome. Okay, thanks. So like I said, it doesn't matter if you live in a small space, large space, window perch, you got a balcony, full-blown backyard, anything, you tailor it to the size and the space that you have. Um, with that being said, keep in mind what you're trying to regrow. As my pineapple plant will be of a great surprise for me later. My goal for you at the end of this is just to look into your kitchen and be like, holy, I have a whole vegetable garden right here at my fingertips, and it costs essentially nothing to do. Um, so full disclosure, I am just getting over COVID, so I've written some notes because my head is not in all here yet. It's to keep me focused, but use the chat, um, talk amongst yourselves, whatnot. I'll try to keep an eye on it as best as I can going through, and there is a lot of content, so bear with me, okay? So this is presented by Ontario Nurses for the Environment Interest Group from the RNAO. There's free membership for the year, so if you want to tell your coworkers and colleagues, a little plug. We're going to start with the land acknowledgement. And I'm not going to read through this because it is quite lengthy, but there was a lot of important stuff in it in recognizing your land. For me, it is the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Chippewa, and Haudenosaunee peoples who cared for the land that I reside on. The number in the bottom left corner, oh, as I cover it up, if you don't know the native land that you reside in, if you text that number, the city and the province that you're in, it will like pretty much immediately respond back. It is really cool. One of our executive members found that. So let me know if I go too fast. I get really excited. So the determinants of food waste. Did you know that in Canada, 8% of adults live in food insecure households? Did you know that a quarter of the food supplied for human consumption is wasted across the food supply chain, with household waste representing half of that and being the biggest contribution to food waste? The biggest determinants of food waste is poor food literacy. So that's defined as the lack of knowledge regarding managing household food. Obviously, hopefully, people don't intentionally buy food just to throw it out, but it happens, right? I mean, it can stem from personal norms, household planning habits, the good provider identity. So that's when you have plenty of food on hand for expected and unexpected situations. I mean, you never know. Joe from next door could show up while you're making dinner and you got to throw on another plate, you know? It includes meal planning, buying food, serving too much food, storing used and unused foods improperly, and then the confusion with best before, use by, and expiration date. I've gone over these a couple times and I still get kind of confused, but I will try and give you a brief overview. Best before dates are required by the Government of Canada for food with shelf life less than 90 days. So it's to inform the consumer that the best freshness is up until that date, which means you can still use the item after, but it's not guaranteed to taste that fresh or the freshest. The best before dates, they can be accompanied by storage instructions or the date packaged, and it only applies to unopened products. I can say for certain that milk is one of those. Use by dates refers to the best before dates, but only applies to fresh yeast only products, so bread, that kind of stuff. Expiration dates, sorry. Expiration dates means the food may not have retained the same nutritional content declared on that label. So for expiration dates, if you've ever heard the saying, if in doubt, throw it out, it applies to the expiration date. Next one, so why grow your own food? The most common motivator for people is to save money, and I mean, I can't blame anybody for that. I love my fresh fruits and veggies, and it would cost me so much to constantly be going to the store and just to buy them all the time. So I sneak away the seeds when I get them. The second is to reduce food waste. By growing your own food, you put in that time and the energy to care for such delicate things, and then you watch them grow and become something amazing and delicious. And I don't know if you guys have ever done it, but the difference in taste from a store-bought to growing your own is astronomical. Um, so when you get that, we tend to reduce our food waste. You know, we appreciate it more when we get to see the fruitions come through. The third one is to reduce carbon emissions from food transporting. So because we're not driving to the big box stores, we're not contributing to the carbon emissions from our vehicles and from theirs. Kind of circle back to save money, because with gas prices, I don't think anybody wants to drive unnecessarily. Alternatively, if you don't have the food you need, a smaller way to reduce carbon emissions is to go to your local food stand. The fourth one is decreasing humanitarian concerns. So you're creating more available food sources to those in need. You can provide your excess food to local shelters. They really, really appreciate that. You can do it with your neighbors. I know a lot of the times, like, we grew like 4 things of cucumbers, and then we're left with a basket full of cucumbers where I've gotten sick of them, which is hard for me to say. So we trade off with our friends and family in that. It's really good. And then you get to try new things and connect with people, you know. So when you grow your own food, you also get to control the pesticides and the bacteria you use, if any. I personally don't use any. I have slides later on that will give you ideas in how to use other food waste in preventing pests and deterring them. So you also increase pollination and biodiversity. Bees especially use the flowers on vegetables for pollination. Pollinators are vital for plants and crops to flourish, and they're including bees, butterflies, hummingbirds, etc. Fun fact, over 3/4 of wildflowers and 1/3 of the food we eat depend on insect pollination. So it's really important. Is there any other reason you guys might have that you want to share as to why you want to grow your own food? I know it's a great activity to do with kids, and I find that they get a newfound appreciation for the foods that they get to take part in watching them grow in that. So this is a slide about zoning areas. They are important to know because it relates to the friendliness of the environment to your plants. It's also known as the hardiness zone. When that zone matches whatever you're planting, flowers, food, or whatnot, it's most likely to thrive. So when you buy plants, not that, hang on, let me get through this. When you purchase plants, that information, like the zoning area, is on the nursery tags. It also goes along with the tolerated sun exposure. So since we're obviously not buying from the nursery, and our vegetables from the grocery store don't come with a nursery tag, we're not going to worry too much about it, but it is good to know. So does anybody know their zone? I'm way down here. I'm a zone 7A, I believe.
I always think about 5 for me, but I realize it's 5A and B, but I'm like right on the edge because Kitchener's in 6 and I'm in 5. So
Oh, that's fair.
I think it works anyways, right? Because that's warmer. So that's generally what we're worried about, is it being colder.
I usually just stick to 7. I know I'm in zone 7. I don't really worry about the A and B. I haven't found much of a difference. So, okay, moving on. So seeding, transplanting, and harvesting charts. There's a lot of different charts out there. If you do a quick Google search, you can come up with like hundreds of different ones. They're really, really good to have because, as you can see, this one on the left, up top is the legend, and it's got start indoors, transplant, direct seed So when you're directly seeding them outside, and then when to harvest them. They're really, really good to have. I have one. I am still in the process of renovations and moving, so I haven't been able to get to it. And I decided to do acorn squash. Now, squash is not on there, but let me tell you, it is way too early to be doing it, as they are really high up now and have no home. So when you're searching for a seeding chart, try and include the zone you're in, because that'll really help you out. When you are transplanting, try not to overcrowd the garden, or plant vegetables too close together. The roots can kind of strangle each other. I have a terrible habit of that, because I want to get as much fruit and veggies in as I possibly can fit, right? So when I'm transplanting, I use my body as a measuring tool. So depending on the plant, I use my hands usually from here to there as one, sorry, here to there, here to here as another, and then for like cucumbers and viney things, it's from here to my elbow. I usually do that when I plant. Use what you got, right? So let us garden with seeds and kitchen scraps. So if you've got any around, feel free to use them as we go through. Otherwise, we can plant together at the discussion after. So there's different ways to regrow your vegetables. Couple of house cleaning tips. First off, they have to be raw vegetables. You cannot use cooked, steamed, or boiled. They will not regrow. Water should always be of tepid temperature, so not too cold and not too hot. There are two ways to regrow your vegetables. The first one is water only, which it's similar to like a hydroponic growing, if you've ever seen that, which I think is really cool. For that, you'll need a tray, a small shallow cup, a vegetable, and water. Simply place the root of the discarded vegetable on a tray or in a shallow cup, and put enough water to cover the base of the vegetable. So I have here, oh, I should change that water. My little celery guy. And it's, I should change that water, that's not good. Here's my lettuce. So I've literally just taken one of my kitchen cups, put in a little bit of water, I'm hoping you can see that, and then it just covers the base of it. It's really, really simple. That is by far my favorite route to go. Where am I in this now? So my rule of thumb is only so much water the roots or the base is submerged by, like, you know, a quarter inch of water maybe. Replace the water every 2 to 3 days and ensure there's no root rot or bacteria growth. So if you are checking your roots, they'll look kind of slimy and they'll feel slimy. You're going to end up getting root rot and they're just going to disintegrate and get really gross. We want to avoid that. So changing the water out, not just topping up the water, really does help with that. The second way is with suspension. For this one, you'll need skewers, or you can also use toothpicks. Whatever vegetable you'd like, a taller jar, and at least 4 inches of water. You know, I didn't use skewers on this, but I have kind of suspended my pineapple plant. Turn it that way so I don't see that. So you can see, I'm hoping you can see the roots coming in. I'm going to try and plant this one later today, and it's literally just suspended on that. If I had skewers, I would put them along the edges here, probably about maybe an inch up, and then put it in, and then fill the water, just like I said, to submerge or just touch the base of that vegetable. Give a happy little pineapple. Now, which way is best for what vegetable? I find it's a personal choice. I've tried both ways, but I find the water way my favorite. It's very simple. I don't have to finagle with the vegetables. I don't know if anybody's tried them. I don't know. Like I said, if anybody's tried them, let me know what your way works great. Yes, as you can see with my lettuce, I am very guilty also of not changing the water. I did start many of these, so I have trays from work. So we usually just throw these out, and as you will see, I like to collect everything and find an alternative purpose. So these were great because I would just lay it flat, put all of my vegetables on there, kind of like the picture actually on that slide, and I would just pour in cups of water until it reached the right height. It's I did find that I had to wash the vegetables off once in a while just so they wouldn't get root rot. So if you guys want to keep chatting, by all means, the next slide just has a couple videos for examples. Okay.
These are the romaine lettuce hearts that I saved and placed in these little jars. And as you can see, I labeled each jar with a date, starting from March 10th all the way to the recent one, March 28th. You can see the difference in growth. The first three here, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the
Sorry to interrupt. I think I just lost sound. I wonder if other people did on the video.
Is it because I
Yes,
muted
I
myself?
also lost the sound.
Okay. We'll rewind it a little bit there. I think it's because I muted myself. Sorry, guys.
Oh, no problem.
We're going to try it again.
lettuce and just fill it back up.
Oh,
Oh, that's better.
Growth. The first three here, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the small pots. And eventually, when the weather gets a little nicer, I'll place them in the garden. Okay, so we're going to plant this lettuce into this little pot here, so I'll give you a closer look. I'm just going to go ahead and make a small little hole here in the middle of the pot. Lettuce, and just fill it back up. So it's that simple. Give it a little bit of water. And that's pretty much it. So it's very simple to do this. So start saving your lettuce hearts, celery, or even bok choy. And I'm sure there's tons more vegetables that you can do this with. Also, I'm going to be watering it with my compost tea, which I made from worm castings, and chlorine-free water. So I usually just leave the water overnight in a watering can or a bottle, so that way the chlorine will dissipate. I hope that you guys found this helpful and enjoyed this episode today at Learn to Grow. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. And happy gardening!
so this one is, the other one is 10 vegetables you can regrow from kitchen scraps. And then it's actually going to show you can get seeds from it. So it's really sustainable. Like Ivan and I were talking earlier, it's a really sustainable way to just keep gardening and keep getting vegetables and stuff. It's really nice.
Hi everyone, Michelle here at Learn to Grow up in the Pacific Northwest, Zone AC. I am back and feeling much better. I appreciate all your support. Thank you so much, guys, for all the get well wishes. So this video is about regrowing vegetable scraps for more leafy greens and even seeds. So you can get more leafy greens for free and also free seeds. And it's such a great activity that you can also do with your kids at home. So I started the scraps about 4 weeks ago, so this video was recorded in a duration of 4 weeks. So the scraps were started indoors in water, and I eventually transplanted them or planted them in containers outdoors. Now some scraps I planted them directly in containers outdoors. And also just a side note, when you're regrowing an onion scrap, you will not get the same big onion bulb like you would in its first season. Instead, it'll develop a smaller bulb, but it will eventually start to stand a flower stalk, and a flower stalk will produce seeds for you. So it's a great way, again, to get free seeds. So I'll go over the ones that I have regrowing in the garden. And I hope that you guys find this video helpful and enjoy it as well. And I'll see you on the next video. Happy gardening, everyone, and enjoy your week.
Mhm.
14-day update. Check out the growth and the roots on some of these scraps. This is a pineapple top and a piece of potato. So I actually have a pineapple plant that's about nearly 3 years old, and it was started from another top scrap just like this one. So I usually just submerge it in water, and once these little roots get to about half an inch to an inch long, you can go ahead and plant it in a pot. And I use a cactus potting mix. Now potato pieces, just make sure each piece has at least 2 to 3 eyes. These are the eyes that will grow new plants for you, and you'll get new tubers or potatoes in about 3 to 4 months, depending on the variety. So just make sure each piece is about 1.5 inches thick, about the size of a golf ball. This is celery, beet, and check out the roots of this one. Spring onions, they're about 12 inches tall now. Bok choy, check out the romaine lettuce. Here are the onions. I have a second one growing there that I cut lengthwise about a week ago, and it's doing much better. Look at all those roots. Since I didn't cut the top off entirely like this one, it has more stored energy that this little plant will feed from, and eventually it'll shoot out the leaf blades on top. There are the carrots. There are some roots in there too. Look at that. Tiny one, the orange one. Check out the roots on this bok choy scrap. Nice leaves. Here is the leaf scrap for those roots. So these are all vegetable scraps except these rosemary cuttings that I'm trying to root. Now, if you ever buy those packs of herbs from the grocery store, you can propagate those as well, root them, and you'll get some free plants. So I've got some spring onions. These were planted about, I think, 3 days ago now. These were planted about, I believe, 7 days ago, and some of them have been here for about, I think, 2 weeks. And you can keep harvesting these leafy greens about 3 to 4 times before they start to set flower and then go to seed. These are the onion scraps. So again, more leafy greens that you can get from them. Celery bottoms, get to harvest some of these leafy greens and stalks before it sets flowers. And I've got this bok choy scrap that's actually starting to flower. So I'm going to let this keep growing and produce some seed pods for me, so we'll get some free seeds. So these scraps were planted last fall. This one is spring onions. And it is sending out a flower stalk. So we'll get some seeds from that. This one is celery. Look at that, guys. Check out all the stalks. So this celery overwintered when I planted it. I think it was back in October, and it's just starting to produce more foliage. But you can harvest these greens and foliage. Look at that, guys. And again, it'll send a flower stalk, and we'll get some seeds. So it's been about 3.5 weeks since I planted the scraps in this container. Unfortunately, something's eating the bok choy. You can see that the celery scrap has grown. Lots of leaves, carrot tops, spring onions, onion scraps, and the leek was dug up by a squirrel, so that one died. And the romaine lettuce was dug up as well. These carrot flowers produced some seeds for us last year. We also got some seeds from onion flowers last year that were grown from scraps. Here's the pineapple plant that I started 3 years ago from the pineapple top scrap. Okay. It is over 2 feet tall, so we might get a fruit this year, if not hopefully next year.
So I didn't know that about the herbs from the grocery store, that you could just stick a couple of sprigs of them in water and they'll root themselves. I think that's really, really cool, because that's, I'm hoping to do some herbs in the next little bit. So we'll go to seeds. Seeds are a great way to start your vegetable garden. They do take a little bit longer to grow, obviously. If you're planning on growing anything from seeds, sow inside 6 to 8 weeks prior to transplanting outside. But again, reference your harvesting chart, or your seeding and harvesting chart. If you look at a calendar, actually, we intentionally tried to schedule this workshop 7 weeks before May 2-4 weekend, which is usually the planting and transplanting time. But make sure that when you are transplanting, hopefully it's May 2-4 weekend. I'm hoping there's not going to be any frost in the forecast, because that can damage your plants to the point that they can die in it. I have another slide and another little story about that. I have learned a lot of this the hard way. So equipment for doing your own seeds includes obviously the seeds of whatever vegetable or fruit you want to do, potting soil, a small container, labels. I've used a toothpick and a piece of paper. Lately I've been using popsicle sticks and a marker. Whatever works. You also need water, time, and patience. And don't forget to label them. I've even written just on, because I had nothing around other than a marker, just written on the box what I'm trying to grow. So the next thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is germination. It's the term used for growing anything from seed. It can be done in 2 ways. The one described with the soil, a small container, seeds, and water, or the other way is with a clean paper towel, the seeds that you need, and sunlight, and a sealed tight bag like a sandwich bag or a Ziploc. So with the soil, for smaller seeds, I use my index finger, and I just move, I have a really big thing here. I just move the dirt around, kind of like she did in the video with a toothpick, I think, until I move the dirt around until my nail bed is touching it. I can, depending on the seeds, if it's a bigger one, I'll go to the first or the second knuckle. Again, I use my mommy's measurements. And then I put the seeds in, and then I just cover it with loose dirt. You don't want to pack it down too much. If you're planting with like the actual vegetable and it's got the roots, you can kind of give it a little snug bed, tuck it in, I guess. But you do want loose dirt on top of it. And then once you've planted them, you want to water the soil quite thoroughly and place it in a sunny area. If you choose to germinate seeds with the paper towel and a sealed bag, there's a couple different ways to do it. I do have a video coming up that does everything that we've just talked about, from rooting them to seeds to germinating to all kinds of them. It's a really cool video. I'm very excited to show you. The paper towel technique is a really good way, though, to weed out duds in your seeds. A lot of the times I've tried to grow stuff from seeds and then nothing comes of it. I tend to blame myself, but it could just be bad seeds. You get them. And so when you're doing that, since the paper towel is wet, you can almost kind of see through it a bit to see if any roots have sprouted. And then you know that it's time to take a peek inside and maybe put them in the soil. The thing to remember when doing this is to make sure the paper towel is quite moist with water, but not dripping from it. Lastly, if your seedlings are growing and you need to move them into a larger pot, that's perfectly fine. I really encourage you to do that. I don't count that as transplanting. I call it transferring because it just needs a bigger space to grow. 6 to 8 weeks for germination. And then I believe the next one, oh, it's not the video, it's coming up now. So different containers from household waste. When you pick your container, keep in mind the size of the food being grown. So like my pineapple plant, I'm not going to use, of course I don't have any around, my tiny little dollar store pots. You know, I'm going to go with something a little bigger in size so that it has room for the growth of the roots and then the vegetation on top. And then that way I don't have to keep transplanting it more and more times. When you start out with seeds, small containers like yogurt cups, frozen juice containers are really good. Fruit containers are great to reuse. I personally love the strawberry containers. They're large. They have holes on the bottom for the excess water to drain, and then you can actually close the lid and it will act as a greenhouse but still have vents through it. Those I find are the perfect way to grow from seeds. Actually, the picture on this slide are water bottles, and as you can see, they're great to hold small plants and herbs. For planting kitchen scraps once the roots develop, containers, like I said, for my pineapple guy here, I'm probably going to later use this, my orange juice container, and then just cut that out, flip this around, and then plant it in. And then it's got its drain hole at the bottom. I'm really hoping this is making sense. My head's getting a little fuzzy now. But I'm going to be using this for the meantime until I find a larger container, and then I will have to transplant again for transfer. You can use the 1 liter yogurt containers are really good. Laundry detergent, takeout boxes, used condiments. These are all really, really good to use. However, make sure you rinse your container completely. And then I found a solution. If you soak it in a bleach solution of 10 parts water and 1 part of bleach for 15 minutes, it'll sterilize it. But make sure you really, really clean that out. Especially laundry detergent. You don't want that lingering around in the soil and then, no, doesn't mix well with the roots. Ensure a way for excess water to drain by either having at least 1 hole or multiple holes about 1 to 1.5 inches apart. The water bottles on the right, they're really cool. They have holes in the lids at the bottom, right? So the excess water from the top ones will actually go down into the bottom of that and then go, it's kind of like a waterfall of feeding. Really sorry guys, we're almost halfway. We're more than halfway, okay? Bear with me. And then they've got the little slits in the sides, so you can still water the ones below as you go. I hope you try all of these on, Nick. That's really cool. An issue that I've come across is having too many holes for the water to escape. What I found you can do is use newspaper, shredded up newspaper. I've even used like shredded credit cards, but be careful because the ink in them. And I've just lined the bottom of my container with these, and then you don't lose dirt through the holes too. It's a really good way of, for me, I found how much water I was putting in there, the tendency to drown them. So, let's see what else there is. Oh, this is the video. Are you ready? All the different ways to grow in one. I've never had luck doing a mango or an avocado for that matter. So that's how you germinate with just the paper towel. Next time you're rinsing your rice, think of making corn. Here's like a skewer idea. Keep the container. You can actually take the egg from that and just stick it right into the ground. I love the little egg stirrings. So cute. Yeah, that takes a while to get a lemon out of that. I have one from fall and it's like this big. They get really creative here. I'm just letting you know. There's tons of ideas for you guys to get creative with. I absolutely love that video. But I have 10 minutes left and there's a few more slides, so I'm going to kind of hustle through. And any questions, feel free. I can absolutely link the videos. If you want them in the chat, I can do that shortly. I have a reference page that has all the stuff on it too for you. So I don't know what this is. Get off. So Hardening-Off, which is also called Acclimation or acclimating your plants. It's when seedlings germinate indoors and the growth breaks the surface. They're ready to be transplanted outside, but they require the transition period, which is what this is. You're essentially hardening your plants to the outdoor elements. So what you can do sorry, is begin by exposing the plant to sun for about 15 to 20 minutes twice a day. I usually do this when I'm getting ready for work in the morning, and then when I get up, I go out, I bring them outside, I come in, I get my stuff ready. I take about maybe 30 minutes to get ready, and then on my way out, I grab them right there and I put them back inside. We have a window sill, luckily, right by our back door. And then each day you're going to add 5 to 10 minutes onto that. So if it's cloudy though, kind of a crummy day, well, today for me, you can end up leaving the plants outside for up to 2 hours. The reason for that is the UV rays. There's minimal there, so it won't burn your plant. Hardening your plant allows them to withstand the UV lights from the sun, strengthen their stalks and stem from the wind, and then withstand the differing in temperatures. The picture on the right of this slide is of cloches. I think I'm saying that right. They're also known as bell jars. So if you aren't able to transition your plants, you can use these to protect your little seedlings once they're outside. They go over your fragile plants and they protect them from the elements. They can also act as a greenhouse, so they'll trap in the heat and the moisture. You can vent them by just putting like a little piece of wood or something underneath one edge of it, and then it'll just kind of stand up and let the hot air out, so it doesn't literally cook your plants. Common plants are usually closed early, include tomatoes, peppers, herbs, and exotic plants. Obviously exotic ones because they require the heat and that high temperatures. The disadvantage of these are the high winds can displace them. Especially lately, we've been getting a lot of that, at least in my area. But they are really neat. You can also use the top of even this. If I cut the bottom of it off, put the lid on, I can just put it over my little plant. And I have we'll call it a bell jar. Next one is sun tolerance exposure. So it's just to touch base on it. I don't expect you to read this slide. There's full sun, part shade, and then complete shade. Nursery tags do have to inform you by law the amount of sun recommended for the plant. Again, since we don't have nursery tags, not really gonna worry about that. But for your plants that you're trying to grow, the rule of thumb is a south-facing windows are the sunniest, and the east-facing windows are the second best. So try and plant or position them in front of those windows. If you're trying to do this over winter, keep them away from the windows because the difference in temperature and any possible drafts can cause frost damage to the plant. You don't want that. Almost there. So food waste alternatives. This is one of my favorite things. Eggshells can be used in a variety of ways once they're rinsed out. You saw in the video they used them as little seed starters. I absolutely love that idea. It's the cutest thing ever. I've very often crumpled the shells after rinsing them, crumpled them in my hand, and then I just go out and I sprinkle them around the stem of my vegetables or the stalk of them. It So what that does is cause sharp objects for pests and deters them from eating and infecting your plants, especially slugs. I don't know if you guys get a lot of issues with slugs, but eggshells will keep them away. Another use is to blend them into fine powder and mix them into the soil. Eggshells are very rich in nitrogen, calcium, magnesium, and they support healthy vegetation and growth. The next one is banana peels. They're rich in phosphorus and potassium. They are best for your soil when they're dried out, crushed, and mixed into the soil. And alternatively, you can soak the banana peel in water and then make banana tea for fertilizer. I thought that was very neat. I've never tried that though. So the last one is coffee grounds. They attract earthworms, they repel slugs and ants, and they enhance the vibrant colors of your vegetation. So they make them brighter. But too much caffeine from the coffee grounds can stunt your growth if you're used too frequently. So I usually will use my coffee grounds. I don't drink a lot of coffee, but I will use my coffee grounds maybe once a week or every, depending, 1 to 2 weeks. I'll go out and just sprinkle some around. You can mix them right into the, yes, you can use loose leaf tea. Absolutely. Again, be careful with the caffeine though. If it's decaf, not a problem. I use mine all the time. I have an ongoing little bucket of my loose leaf teas that I'll just sprinkle into the soil. Almost there. Okay, 4 minutes. We got this. Orange peels, they're great because of the citrus smell. They deter pests as well. So 2 ways you can do it is to, first is to make a spray by boiling fresh peels in water for 10 minutes. Strain it into a spray bottle, and there you go. Spray every 3 to 4 days, and it'll get rid of slugs, aphids, ants, whiteflies, and fruit flies. You can also use this on the indoor plants as well, and then it kind of smells nice too. The second way is to just chop them up into small pieces and put them around the base of your plant. You should replace them when they dry out for optimal effect. So also you can use you can use pits, nuts, shells, and rice. When you mix that into the soil, it will provide aeration and nutrients, something soil very much likes. Paper towels, believe it or not, can be used to help the soil breathe and grow organic matter when shredded and mixed in. Not paper towels that you've used for household cleaning. Those have chemicals. We want to stay away from that. Water bottles can be used as many different things as well, from self-irrigators to bell jars, for seedlings to hummingbird feeders. I don't know why when I started this, there were so many things that came up about how to reuse water bottles. We don't have any in the house. We have reusable water bottles, but if you still use them, please find an alternative purpose after the fact, because they're so good for so many things. What else are there? Water bottles. What I think. Yeah, so you can cut them off, use them as seed starters. The top can be used as a crush for seedlings. Otherwise, thank you. You have made it with 2 minutes to spare. If there's anything you'd like to ask me, anything you want to talk about in the chat, any plants you want to show me that you've already tried to grow, I'm all ears. I'm hoping it won't just cut us off, but because I could sit and talk to you guys for hours. That's clearly. If you do try and do anything, please share your work. We'd love to see what's out there and your creativity. Thank you guys, I appreciate that. This is my references. I do believe I believe Jocelyn put those.
Victoria, that was an awesome presentation. You've given us so many great ideas, and it looks like so many people are already doing this in new and innovative ways that I'm just so impressed with everybody's contributions. Thanks for the awesome presentation. And I do want to remind everybody, if you have something that you'd like to contribute to our newsletter that's coming out in April, it could be a planting tip like this or some other eco-friendly concept that you're working on or want to share, or any other ideas, you can feel free to contact the ONEIG email that's on the screen. And thanks again, Victoria. This was great.
Yeah, no problem. Again, I hope you guys can walk away from this and look in your kitchen and be like, oh, I can grow that. Am I worried about pesticides that are on the skins of store-bought produce? When you use them in your soil and that, yes, it will contribute. I believe it's minutely compared to oh, brain fart now. But in comparison, I don't think it has that big of an impact. I don't add anything to any pesticides or not fertilizer. Oh, I hope you know what I'm talking about right now. But yes, I believe it was Ivan that asked that they can contribute. But if you're mixing in, if you're using like one orange and you're using it around 4 plants, I personally, I'm not worried about it. If you are, you are more than welcome to wash it off. I don't think bleaching them would be very effective for that. Regrowing from GMO versus non-GMO. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever taken note of that. Thanks, Ivan. I'm really gonna notice that now. Okay, so I had a friend, I'm hoping this won't cut us off. I had a friend that tried to grow an apple tree, and did find a difference. I mean, it took years, but the growth from the GMO was stunted. It didn't grow nearly as much as an organic one. I don't know. I'm hoping that answers your question, Ivan. If not, please ask me again, and I'll try and get some answers for you. I hope everybody was inspired. I'm gonna try and stop sharing or stop recording.